How are we feeling out there, fellas? Man, it is a ghost town. Liberation Day is tomorrow. The markets are on fire, literally going to zero. Chris, how are we feeling today?
What's good? Yeah, we're back. We're still here every single day. You can count on that. It is dead out there, though. It's one of the most dead I've ever seen it. I mean, we're lucky to even see a crypto space, you know. So.
I was looking at the spaces yesterday morning, and it was like some of the lowest count spaces I'd ever seen, and not even like I think the Farouk space even had like it was like barely over 100 people. I was like, wow, where is everybody?
Those are all his bots, bro. Yeah, it's brutal, man. It's brutal. It's funny, you know, being Trump, that Trump is like this incredible memer. You would have thought he would have done it on April 1st, right? Just to make it like fully memeable, but
yeah.
He actually said that he was purposely not doing it because he wanted people to take it serious of what's about to happen.
Good for him, dude. Because I guess, you know, I put out the fake April Fool's tweet this morning, immediately got blowback from people. Never fuck around with finances, bro.
Okay. Yeah, so people were not happy about that.
People were not happy, dude. They were not happy with my joke. You know, I'd said to Hustle, man, let's put out a tweet about you getting acquired, you know, by OpenAI, and he was like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." Not happy with that. The community didn't like the idea of us getting acquired and promoting WorldCoin. Although I thought that would have been hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah, what an absolute day. What an absolute thing in shambles. I don't know if you guys saw my post this morning about DeFi AI. I don't know if this could be either the most encouraging sign or, man, it's so over for all of us. But
let's see it.
Let me show you this. So I was looking through some like stats on DeFi AI, this new website. And DeFi AI simultaneously has the most relative mind share of any sector this year, while also having the worst price performance of any sector. So I don't know if this is like the biggest mismatch where
those numbers are real, bro. That feels right, dude. That feels
where it's right. Like we're due for either like the biggest bounce of the entire sector, or this is just over for AI. Chris, what do you think? I saw you smirking over there.
I'm trying to see. Does it say which? projects it's aggregating?
I'll go over to the actual website here in a second.
Kind of feeling like they're just putting a bunch of junk in there that's not actually DeFi AI that went directly to zero. I mean, everything went to zero, but some of them, some of the chatbots, if you put 5 or 10 of those in there that shouldn't be in there, that'll affect like the skew of the price performance for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, certainly on Cookie Got Fun and stuff, they have it pretty well parsed out. I haven't really, I mean, definitely in the AI sector, they have whatever. They have Farcoin in AI. I don't know how Farcoin's in AI.
Well, because Farcoin was like a project of True Terminal, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at this on Cookie.fun and the 7-day price movement for everything is just like 30%, 20%, 40%, right? You have like a few kind of standout ones. Agent Hustle is actually up, I think like 50, almost double because it was 600K was the bottom. So it's actually up like 100% from the bottom. I mean, it's still granted, it's quite small, but you look at this stuff and then you go over to this website. It's dexu.ai. And so you go over here and you look at, so relative, and I was going over the 90 days because that's for the year. So it has the most mind share of relative. So 700%. It is like not even close compared to some of these other ones.
Yep.
And then you go over to this narratives price performance, which says, hold on. It says that you can't even see it's kind of broken right there.
NFTs at number 3. What's that at number 2? On the green.
Where? On the green?
What's
you have data?
What is that?
That's probably like NFTFi. That's like Kaido and stuff.
And NFTs are 3. Nobody's talking about NFTs.
It's interesting. I wonder if that is somewhat skewed because Banker has had such a massive run here over the last few weeks, and dominated, so thoroughly on the timeline that maybe that kind of skews it, right? There may be, I mean, realistically, I think there's 10 teams maybe in DeFi AI, 10 real teams, but that number is probably 85% Banker. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Just feels that way.
So it says the occurrence ratio. This is for narrative price performance. The occurrence ratio toggle point shows the number of projects from that narrative that are outperforming BTC. You could click the bar in the narrative to see the corresponding details. The data's refreshed every 5 minutes. And then mind share is obviously, the chart shows the mind share of different narratives across different time frames. On the default setting, you'd see the absolute mind share showing the narratives that CT are talking about the most. This is relative, so I have the relative one on. When activating the relative toggle point, you would see the relative change in mind share of the chosen time frame. So it says the user on methodology. But just assume, that this is right. If DeFi AI has the most relative mind share, it means the people who are in the industry are just fucking absolutely ballistic about it, just consistently tweeting about it. But also, it's the worst performing sector of the year. What does that actually mean for the sector, Adam?
Utility is bearish still. I think that's got to be what it is. It's just utility is still seen as bearish news. Like, who wants to know? It's better. We're still of the mindset. And it may take some time to shake out of this mindset. That the mindset in meme coins was, if you don't have anything tied to it, the ceiling's unlimited. Because what could it be? It could be worth 100 billion. Why not a billion? Why not $1 trillion? Right? SPX 500, whatever. It's going to be worth than the NASDAQ. Bullshit, right? Just, it can be infinity because there's no real value there. And so maybe we just need to shake out of that mindset to a degree. I don't know. It's still, I think we're very much stuck in that. Now, that said, I think the DeFi AI sector has not produced what it's promised yet, like at all, including Hustle, like not even close. But, nobody said we were going to be able to produce it yet, right? I think it's good. This takes time to build this foundational technology. So, but I don't think that, it's just not, I think we're just actually shifting out of two different mindsets, and the meme coin mindset is still basically dominating us.
Chris, what's your take on this? If this were to be true.
Yeah, if it's true, I mean, I think that crypto AI prices were in a tough spot. The sector didn't really kind of catch fire. until after Nvidia already made an all-time high. Like it was like $3 trillion. It started taking off in like September when all that was kind of like the blow off top for like traditional AI. And so I think that it's kind of like a function, like a beta of probably a lot of the traditional AIs. And so since we saw those come down quite a bit, I think that this second go around would probably be the prime time for the crypto AI sector. It's a little bit more mature. You can actually see substance there. And I think that that'll probably be entangled in it with global AI is kind of what my thought process would be there.
So if this were to come back, right, because there is actual, you say utility, you know, things are being built. Does this mean that those that are existing, right, like you could say Tensor, Griffin, Hanon, are these due to receive the largest bounce, or does the industry just come in and just buy new tokens, which is generally the case?
I think this is the one instance where you can't just buy new.
Yeah.
Right. It actually, you have to actually build something. Right. And so somebody can't just come. I mean, yes, teams are coming in and just saying, we're going to do this. And they had huge runs. There were teams that ran up to, you know, their token went to 150, 200 or more $1 million. But the market's slowly realizing that it was literally it was a nothing burger. They actually have nothing. And so those are racing to zero. But to be fair, like Tensor's, you know, $1.5 million right now, right? I think we're going to have to produce something significant. And then the market's going to have to, you know, we are going to have to create a tokenomics plan that is like, gets people excited. And, you know, so there are a couple of things that need to kind of fall in place. But if they do fall in place, like I do think when it rips back, it seems like this is going to be the sector that rips back. I mean, we're hopeful, obviously.
Yeah,
I think just like real quick, you know, the AI sector, it's so small compared to what it is. And it keeps on, the vision just keeps on getting bigger and bigger. Like we saw ChatGPT images, like the compute that we need for just general questions and search queries and things like that is like a drop in the bucket compared to every single person using GPUs to render images and graphics and everything like that. And so that like 100x'd over the last week. I mean, the response from ChatGPT images was crazy. And then every other platform is going to have to upgrade their image processing. So the fight for GPUs and just general compute is going to get crazy. And then as those models get stronger, that makes crypto AI way, way stronger. And we're kind of understanding where the value is going to accrue, because these LLMs from these major companies, they're like public goods. They're like commodities. You know, there's no money to be made in that for the average person. And so they have to get down to the application layer, which is where something like Asian Hustle, something like Griffin, something like Hanon, that's where it seems like the value will accrue. When these systems first started to take sprout, everyone was like, oh, these are just like ChatGPT wrappers. But it seems like now it's pretty clear that that is actually where the value accrual layer is actually going to take place, in my opinion. So
100%. By the way, Chris, did you bump up against the a little bit of ChatGPT censorship when you were trying to make images, man?
Oh yeah, it's nuts. It's
dude,
so
it's retarded, isn't it, dude?
And it's extremely like frustrating because it doesn't tell you until after it's tried to render the whole image. So you'll wait like 10 minutes for the image, and then it'll say, I can't do it because of copyright. And then you have to
I can't produce Donald Trump, really?
Yeah,
you can't produce a Donald Trump image, really? We're still there.
I think a lot of it, though, I think that they put in these bullshit messages for their rate limits. I think that they have a bunch of just general kind of proxies for rate limiting, and it just sometimes it switches up the message. Sometimes it's copyright. Sometimes it just can't do it. Sometimes it tells you it's rate limited. So I think that it's just like overwhelming the servers. I think it'll get worked out.
Yeah, we learned a lot about rate limits over the weekend, but we moved, dude. I mean, talking about, you know, DeFi AI, Adam tuned in a little bit to, we tuned a little bit to Hanon's live stream with Danielle. Adam, what was your take on that of the experience of watching it? I think this is, maybe he's copying us, maybe he saw us and he's like, oh crap, we need to have a live stream marketing angle to this. But what was your take on it?
My take was, I think I told you guys in the chat, I feel very good about our position. He couldn't get Hanon to work for him. which makes me feel very, very good. And he even to get it to work, he basically had to write out something very, very specific, like trade Sol on Solana for BNB on Binance and then he had to tag basically the tool that the AI agent was supposed to use to complete that transaction.
That's nice.
It still wasn't working, even with that. And I think I told you guys offline, like this is why the community over there has built like websites with like where you can copy paste prompts, because you have to have this very, very specific language to accomplish anything. Basically, have to be like a coder to get the thing to work. And I mean, I'm sure that's not his end goal or end state, but I know that's not our end goal or end state at all. Like that's not where we want to be at all. So I feel very good about it, and it didn't seem like, oh, he's got it. Like we've had it too. Like you get rate limited, you get rugged, like that happens, right? It didn't feel like that was happening. It just felt like it wasn't working. It wasn't like he was bumping up against something he hasn't seen yet. It just doesn't really work on any sort of level yet. Not to say it can't work, not to say he won't get it working. Dude's smart. Obviously, probably has a big team over there. But it definitely made me feel good about where we are, because I think we're way ahead, honestly, right now.
Yeah, they have from a interview that he said 16 developers working on this. They did a $10 million ICO, which is pretty wild. So we're moving, with a very talented team. I learned we've
had, years of tech behind it, right? So it's like, they have to they're starting from scratch in theory, with the tech, while we have years already put in. So,
yeah, I put a post out earlier today, just a video of us toying around with the state machines yesterday and using different types of models for different types of interactions. And it really kind of was eye-opening of how different these models or what type of impact these different models have on chain, or some of the smaller ones, they are literally can't do anything, right? I mean, or it's like very singular tracked, or some of the larger ones, which are much more expensive, by the way.
Yeah.
Like exceedingly more expensive. They can command, different types of, I guess you'd say, complex transactions, but it still has to be built. It makes me wonder if some of the other platforms are using, the free models, and they're just trying to basically jam it in to make it work. Because, man, I can only imagine with us, we have, we've had two like somewhere between 200 to 300 vaults that have been generated in 10 days. And, we have a market cap of 1.5 million. And if this engagement is real on some of these other platforms, and they have thousands of people using this, I can only imagine what that bill is. That's got to be like a $1,000, $2,000 bill per day in inference costs. I don't know how that is manageable to any degree.
Yep.
All those costs will come down though, right? This is like the most expensive that they'll ever be. So just kind of with general compute, you can always plan for those cutting in half like every 4 years or something like that, 2 years, depending on just kind of the makeup. But that's it.
Yeah, the AI XBT founder said that they were doing 10,000 a month USD in inference costs. They've been doing a bunch of upgrades. He's announced yesterday, I think this was from yesterday, their terminal is now processing 8 times more data. Project momentum detection score is improved. Faster to iScan projects with new rationale field and bookmark alerts. So this is from their enterprise. He has been cooking a lot, as you see with their terminal, which I think is like $100,000 or $200,000 to even use. But I guess if you're a big whale, that kind of information is a lot easier to process. So they're still cooking. And yesterday, I think the biggest announcement, at least in the AI space, was AI16Z announced that they're creating ready to launch a virtuals competitor. It's called Auto.Fun. It's an AI launchpad. And then they also said Eliza OS V2 is ready to launch. So they'll be starting marketing and going live soon. It was actually kind of funny. They announced Auto.Fun's ready. And then like an hour or two later, they were like, sorry, it's actually going to be 2 or 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
I really feel like last week was that oh shit moment for a lot of people, right? Magic Eden came out and basically said that, they're going to be creating a tool. Now I see their founders just creating these kind of like AI posts, but not directly saying that it's AI, even though he said that they were building AI and he had to delete the tweet later. Right. So a lot of people kind of got their pants down. And seems like we're probably pretty soon going to get ready to move into this next stage of AI development because the space is moving really, really fast. I mean, I was talking with Shannon yesterday, late night on a call. He was like, this is the fastest we've ever moved personally, to a degree where, it's tough to even keep up with your own team of the type of development that's happening. And I know all these other AI projects are in a very similar type of situation. But Adam, what do you think? Auto.fun. I'm gonna go to the website here in a second. Really haven't browsed through this yet, but do people want more AI launchpads to compete
3 months
with
too late,
virtuals?
bro. It's literally 3 months too late. This is a zero burger. I mean, they might get some traction on the first one, I'm sure Shaw will catch some of the first one that launches or whatever. But I mean, other than that, who cares at this point, right? I mean, who's launching AI agents? It doesn't, for you to be able to bomb a lot more AI agents into it. We've already run this playbook. Unless you're going to do something special like AIXBT and their team, or something in the DeFi AI space or something different, much more substantial. Honestly, what do you even need a launchpad for? You don't need one. You're probably not going to use. I mean, everything I've heard from devs when I've been on spaces and stuff, they hate the Eliza OS. Like they hate it. They'd much rather just build it from scratch on their own. So if you're building a substantial agent, anyway, either in DeFi AI or data or whatever or even just a KOL, why would you use their launchpad? It just seems like they're chasing something that the ship's already left the harbor.
So Shaw says, we've been taking our time with the new Launchpad product. It's not enough to just clone something that came before. It generally has to be good, better, and more of what people want. I think we've cracked it. Everyone will copy this. And then they go on to talk about utility. The real token utility is fun. So you would suspect that they're going to integrate the AI16Z token into this in some capacity. What Eliza V2 is, I'm unsure, but Chris, what do you think of the, one of the leaders in the kind of AI space announcing that they've nearly completed a product and they're going to put it on the market here pretty soon?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see it. It kind of took a minute for me to click, but we talked about the cookie. Adam was talking about it this weekend, just like how many agents have launched that are tracked by cookie. And we kind of thought it would be way more. And my thesis kind of was that so many of these agents already exist. And so a lot of them are just going to kind of integrate crypto rails. And just so the agents tracked would be way more. And so I think that there's still like a pretty big maybe barrier between the AI community and the crypto community. And so it might take something like this Launchpad where people just copy and paste all of the agents that have came before in all different industries and just launch them with a token. So I think we could see like a lot of copy pasta from traditional AI agents, and then them just kind of with like not the actual developers, but people just, trying to grift, trying to kind of make some money. And I can see those being copy and pasted through something like the autos.fun platform. And I could see some of them kind of breaking out. Another thing, I posted the Sam Lesson tweet on the Jumbotron, but it just kind of makes me realize that people really prefer to interact through these LLMs for everything, whether it's going to be, this one talks about music and setting it to his mood and creating a playlist, or what you want to eat. That's like the infamous question between couples and families and things like that. What do you feel like eating? And it's like people just want to put an input in and get an actual decent output. They want direct answers to their question rather than search queries. And so you can really upend every single industry. Every single kind of product is going to have some type of LLM. And I don't think that we really processed that would be kind of the case, that this is how we're going to communicate with the internet. And that's definitely how we're not only going to communicate with the internet, but with on-chain. So I think that this is like just really strong kind of evidence that people want this in every industry possible.
Yeah, should be interesting. I think it is that moment of oh shit for most individuals, not even just in crypto now. As you saw with that one, it says Spotify. Something else that just came across my timeline, apparently in the AI space, Act just dumped 50% in a single candle. Went from 180 million to 100 million, and from what I'm seeing, people are blaming Wintermute on this, as that seems to always be the scapegoat for whatever, right?
Is that the meme though, or are they
I
actually?
mean, I saw Kobe put out one where it was like 10 different charts and all just had that red candle. I don't know if it was a joke or if Wintermute dumped a lot of tokens. I don't know.
It says Binance changed the leverage and margin rules for tokens like Act, and because of that, got a big fat liquidation, losing the price of some nature. So Binance has been changing up a lot of their stuff here pretty recently.
Yet they still continue to just list like, low cap shitcoins. It's funny, man. I mean, I saw, Leo and them tweeting about it the other day where they put on like, I don't know, 10 or 15 new tokens that were just like 10 mil market cap tokens. It's like, how did they pick those? It's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently Kraken's supposed to be listing Dog pretty soon. Speaking of exchange listings, I did see somebody from the team talking about that, or that could just be more
April Fools.
More April Fools, dude. More April Fools. Moving out of the AI space, I did title this that tomorrow is Liberation Day in America. This seems to be why the markets are going absolutely ballistic. So let's put our macro expert hats on today and dive into what this is. This is actually a pretty good thread about tariffs, which is what tomorrow is. So apparently tomorrow, April 2nd, Trump said he wasn't going to do it on April 1st because he knew that Adam was going to tweet about it, and the Telegram would just absolutely hate us for doing it. So tomorrow, apparently, reciprocal tariffs are added across the board to anybody who is tariffing the United States. And there's a handful of countries that have came out and said that they're going to add reciprocal tariffs on top of anything that the U.S. There's been a handful of countries that have already basically said that they're going to remove the tariffs that they already had on America, a lot of them being the smaller ones. Looking at some of these like charts that I look at, looks like the market is literally pricing this in. It's like catastrophe for the most part. I'm not a tariff expert, but from what I was reading, they're expecting like $600 billion in revenue across the board from this year. The U.S. Economic Policy Uncertainty Index is literally higher than the 2008 financial crisis. It's actually higher than the COVID-19 global shutdown, man. I don't really know what to expect here. Tomorrow, we'll kind of find out. Chris, what do you think of this situation of economic uncertainty across the world? Literally higher than any other uncertainty period over the last, looks like 30 years on this chart.
I think like this chart is funny because it's probably more of a function of people just having the data or like access to the internet. It's more of a function of like more people with that kind of information than ever before. And so that causes quote unquote more uncertainty, but it doesn't really impact the people who should be kind of influenced or not because they've had the data through all the different data points over the years. I like tariffs. I think that it's a good way to onshore. I think that people aren't really calculating the back half of it, which is you don't pay tariffs if it's made in America. So if you want to avoid the tariffs, you just build your manufacturing plants here, and it creates jobs, creates tax paying opportunities and things like that. So I'm pretty excited for it. And like I said, he had tariffs in his first term. They stuck all the way through Joe Biden's term. It's not like he's a first term president just shooting into a barrel here. He's kind of pretty methodical about it. And I think, people were ready for a change. The status quo wasn't working. It got us $36 trillion in debt. We have to have some sort of alternative. Whether it works to the degree that they're hoping it does, we're not sure. But I think most Americans are willing to try something new because what we've been trying hasn't worked. So anytime a new idea hits the desk, you can see the pushback especially on Trump. So when people say like, why don't we ever try anything new? Well, look at the pushback that this would cause, right?
Right.
You have to be a certain type of person to kind of weather that criticism and things like that. And so I like that he's getting it out of the way early in his term. I like that the markets are down already because there is the plunge protection team at some point, right? We do have that. So I think starting from the markets down or 10 or 15 or 20%, it's actually pretty beneficial for him. He clearly knows that, you know, he has the power to sway markets. He says things off the cuff all the time just to kind of throw daggers in him and keep his strategy pretty on point. So I think he's in a good spot actually, because if the markets were way higher, he would face the risk of you know, having the market crash on his plate totally. And so since it's already come down a little bit, there's much less risk in terms of the administration, and they have a little bit more wiggle room to go, rather than if the markets were at all-time high and he pushed tariffs on everyone at this moment and then they fell 25% instantly. He would face like a lot more backlash. So I think the point in time that he's at and with what he's trying to do, I think it's actually pretty strong. I think they're going to be able to pull it off.
The markets are pricing in stagflation is what they're, at least what I'm seeing in terms of overall sentiment. Gold is at an all-time high, and Goldman Sachs raises its 12-month recession probability from 20% to 35%. Recession odds are currently at 43% on Kalshi, and I believe they're kind of around the same on Polymarket as well. So, Adam, if this is the case, dude, what are we expecting here over for crypto? How does this save our AI bags?
I thought crypto was supposed to be decoupled from the U.S. market. You know, it's not decoupled, bro. It is what it is. You know, it's just not. We just move with the market. It's just that simple. Because crypto hasn't separated itself as a different asset. It's basically tied to the market, and so it is what it is. I mean, the reality is like the U.S. government getting itself fiscally responsible is bad for asset prices. Like it is. Asset prices aren't going to bubble and blow up if you're not printing money. So, I mean, everybody wants their bags to go up, but the question is, do you want a healthy U.S. government, or do you want a U.S. government that basically at some point is going to collapse? And most of us don't want a government that's going to collapse. The Bitcoiners maybe do, but most of us don't want the government of the U.S. to just implode, because that will destroy the lives of millions of Americans. So for me, fiscal responsibility is good. It's going to hurt, you know, risk asset prices. It's just, that's the way it works. So I don't know, the tariffs and stuff. I always thought myself, it's crazy when, you know, somebody has a tariff on you, yet you don't have the same tariff on them. That never really made that much sense to me. Certainly when it came to things like with China and not allowing, for example, Google to operate in China, or Facebook, or, you know, that sort of thing never made sense. That the U.S. government didn't take a firmer stand on that. I don't know how much is part of this policy as well. But I think Chris is right. It's just like, look, we got to try some different things. And, you know, I think let's rolling it back to the, you know, late 18, early 1900s, and take away tax from most Americans and see what that frees up would be amazing. And I hope this is a move in that direction.
Yeah, one can hope. All the crypto companies, we're going to have to hold on for dear life over the next few months. Although I do see some people saying that there could be a market rebound in the next few months. Crypto tends to basically front run macro for a large part, right? And obviously, as we said at the top of the show, DeFi AI was actually hit the hardest. With that's usually the most high risk, most you'd say innovative, kind of like on the cutting edge of innovation or scam. Generally, it's kind of how a lot of this stuff works. So those are usually the ones that'll be the first to bounce, and they'll generally go quite high over the next, 6 months or 8 months or whatever it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you get the stablecoin market structure bill for at least crypto, right? Or you get the market formation kind of bill. I think this kind of onboards a lot of capital. People, I saw yesterday that Larry Fink in his, I think it was like the quarterly report, or maybe it was like his yearly report. He basically said that he was going to tokenize everything. And he continually says this over the next 2 years. It's just the sentiment of crypto. He's not going to be supporting your meme coins, unfortunately, I guess is kind of where the sentiment is.
Yep.
So, whether it's April 1st, or it's October 1st, we'll be here kind of grinding it out. Honestly, probably trying to figure out things to talk about since the market's kind of in a lull. Grayscale actually posted something yesterday talking about, from an institutional perspective, the way that they're looking at, the market. They're looking at from an index rebalancing 227 distinct assets with an aggregate capitalization 2.6 trillion. Right. Again, this just kind of shows that they're looking for I guess you'd say the Lindy type assets that have been around for a long time, whether that's for better or for worse. They put Zcash in the currencies, so that was kind of interesting. Crypto sectors, currencies performed the best with a just minus 10% return. The worst returning is what they call consumer and culture, which I'm assuming this is what meme coins are, would be my guess. And then they have utilities and services right before that, smart contracts, financials, crypto index. This chart I thought was actually kind of interesting. The monthly active users for Bitcoin has literally been stagnant since 2018. Like it's been around, looks like the peak was close to 20 million active wallets. And then now it's around 10 million. But although the addresses with $1 or more balance has moved up quite drastically since 2018 to, it says about 60 million wallets with $1 or more. It makes you wonder.
What a chart that is, man. That's crazy.
It makes me wonder, how much of an impact this is on ordinals, because when you look at the stagnation, so between 2020 and 2022, then to 2022, it just hovered around 40 million. And then it just goes from 40 million to 60 million, literally right as ordinals, starts taking off, and Taproot and all these different kind of meta protocols where you have a balance of $1 or more. So it makes me wonder, splitting UTXOs and stuff like that, how much of an impact that has. But regardless, if Grayscale realizes that that is the impact of ordinals, the number continues to go up, which makes it attractive to them. Solana monthly users have reached 140 million at the peak. It looks like this is around the kind of AI boom, the end of 2024. 140 million active wallets in a month is kind of crazy. Now it's hovering around, it looks like 80 million. So it's been cut almost in half. Solana fees have also just tanked as well. And this is obviously just due to people, not trading meme coins and kind of just exiling the industry. So I think what this just clearly tells us is there's a lot of interest in institutions. Retail is basically left. 90% of retail probably has just gone to touch grass or just to never come back ever again. Also, which is also quite possible. This was kind of interesting. Their Grayscale Research Top 20. The one thing that they highlighted the most was Story Protocol, which I thought was really kind of interesting. Yeah. I don't know if they're just interested in IP or if just because it has the highest volatility. Yeah, the price went up the most, I guess. So they're just kind of interested in all of that. But
I mean, I noticed like grass was on there too. Couple of kind of funny outliers that they would include. But
so Grass also is AI adjacent. I saw that they were selling some of their data to some of these AI companies.
Yeah. As
well as Story Protocol also has this like AI angle. So it seems like the institutions just slap AI on it and they'll look at it.
Yeah. I mean, people have told me about Grass and they're like, it's not even really a blockchain. It's just run on some dude's computer. I don't know, man. It's funny how this stuff works though. But obviously number go up and number go up technology is always the most important thing. That's the thing that grabs the eyeballs. And, you know, good on Story for being able to roll that out in a way that's, you know, got it working. But it's like, you know, you realize, like, do you guys know anybody using Story Protocol? I don't, you know, nobody, zero, goose egg. I know people who mined grass very effectively too. But other than that, like, what is that, dude? And even them are like, this is a total joke, you know, but it might have been worth mining if you had, you know, a couple hundred phones, you know, but other than that, it's a goose egg. It's nothing. Nobody's actually using the blockchain, you know, so I don't know, man. Lots of smoke and mirror, lots of Ponzi's going on still.
Lots of Ponzi's.
Do people like the Ponzi's? Like, what do we want in this industry? Do we hate the Ponzi's? Do we like them? Like, where are we at? Why can we not retain any users? What is the issue? that Bitcoin chart that you showed where it was like on-chain transactions, Jake?
Yeah.
It kind of like peaked in like 2018, right? But that's like when that was like the peak when we were trying to use Bitcoin as like
That's
a medium of exchange. After that, we just kind of
It's all
shifted
over.
the value prop to more of like a store of value. And so like that makes sense, but it seems like no one else tried to do anything on chain, on any chain ever since then. Like we just changed the narrative, and then now people just hold their coins, and then that was the case for 5 years, and then now people sell them after 6 hours or whatever. But this industry, it's extremely hard to retain users. What is going on? What do they want to do? I don't know. I'm not sure. I find myself asking that question.
No, it is. It's real. It's like the key question in crypto, and it's like, what's it good for? You know, just what is blockchain technology good for? And obviously, it's good for money. Like, period, full stop. It is good for peer-to-peer digital cash. But Bitcoin went away from that, and we've been struggling with that challenge ever since, because we're still looking for what's going to be the peer-to-peer digital cash. And the reality is we have no idea. We don't even know if there's one out there right now that's going to win that battle, that's going to get the network effects, right? So it's like, that's wide open. You know, maybe Bitcoin makes a comeback, and maybe they increase the block sizes later. And maybe that was the strategy, a genius strategy: become a store of value first, then transition into back into peer-to-peer digital cash. Maybe that happens, and it's a miracle. But that's like this weird, that's in a weird space. Crypto as a whole is in that weird space. We don't know what that is. And then we lean into the secondary thing, which is, you know, crypto's great for gambling, period. Like, that's what it is. And so we've gambled on meme coins, we've gambled on NFTs. And so, you know, it is what it is. Like, the idea of tokenizing everything, totally agree. Like, the financial layer, crypto rails makes total sense. But like BlackRock and all them have figured out, it's like, to do that with stocks or bonds or Pokemon cards, you have to have a trusted third party to act as that intermediary if you're bringing in real world assets. Who's going to be that intermediary? It's going to be fucking BlackRock and the banks and whoever, right? Or a government. It's got to be trusted third party. So all the real world assets and stuff, those are going to be grabbed by traditional finance probably, right? So they may run on crypto rails, but they're going to be controlled by the big banks and Wall Street and all the rest. So we're in this weird situation. Crypto's in this weird, like, what are we here for? And, you know, I don't know exactly. I do feel like the most obvious example is gaming, believe it or not. I still feel like gaming is the thing, like, because it's digital assets. We can own digital assets on blockchains. It's like the best use case. But whether or not, you know, could that happen? I don't know. Until then, it's just gambling.
I agree, bro. The thing is, like, with the cyclical nature of crypto, it's obvious. It's within the game theory that you join the space and you leave the space at some point to take your profits. But like, with the lower volatility in Bitcoin, like, if it starts to stagnate, then you have a stable ground where people can just stay in it forever and don't risk to lose too much too fast, you know. And gaming, you're absolutely right. It's a match made in heaven, crypto and gaming, and other use cases as well, like social media and stuff. All these things we do constantly. Don't depend on the market. We game and we do social media, and yeah, if some projects or some chains remain relatively stable at this point, like, crypto will slowly, yeah, be all around. I hope.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
the purely digital items, right? Purely digital. So social media is purely digital. Gaming's purely digital. Those things can run on blockchains, but we just haven't seen it yet.
RWAs, man. We're gonna bring
RWAs.
all of the tokenized assets to all of the physical property to the digital world. You know, excuse me. It's tough to know where it's gonna go. I mean, I think most like the people who've been here for a while, we know the purpose of it. Obviously, decentralized systems scale at a much slower pace, like a rapidly slower pace. You see more casino products popping up. You see, you know, a lot of more, I guess you would say, utility based or maybe non-speculative things pop up as well. But I think the culture has been just kind of ingrained into their brain over the last maybe 10 years or so that, you know, you're just here to kind of make a profit and to flip stuff. You know, how does that change? I don't know. Is that regulation that comes in, right? That kind of changes that mindset to go back to kind of fundamental investing? Or do you or do we just need to build a different section of the crypto space? And we've just been the hyper gambling kind of sector for a while, but and that won't ever go away. But you just need to build things around the casino for people to be interested in. Unfortunately, you know, for part of it is in this space to build something outside of the casino, you generally have to get VC funding, right? Which is generally a hit or miss, at least from what we've seen so far. Some VCs are, you know, very honest people who want to build. The other ones just want to be more extractive to flip whatever the next kind of token is. So it is tough, but you know, if you look, it would sound like it's on repeat at this point, but you know, if you look outside of crypto Twitter, like you could not be more bullish on the space. Like there is a lot of products coming that just don't have a token, which therefore they don't really get talked about, right? Like look at Base, for example. I guess you could say their token is coin, right? The stock itself. And because there's no native token, right? Not as many people have moved over, or maybe it just doesn't get as much publicity because you don't have the, you know, the KOLs and the degen traders who make up like 80% of the communication on crypto Twitter, right? Because they're not getting a cut in some capacity. But if you look at Base, the numbers are still pretty well comparative to a lot of these other kind of L2s that have been kind of popping up here and there. So I think it's you just continue to have these type of conversations and continue to hang out. And right now is probably that opportunity outside of, or if you go back into the speculative space to see where the next thing is going to be emerging, whether it's, you know, AI, where we're building, whether it's you try to do this L2 trade all over again, right? With like Mega ETH, and some of the L1s, right? Like Story Protocol, right? Barra Chain. You have these things that are kind of forming. You have NFTFi, which has some traction, right? Kaido has some real traction. They're not even a blockchain either. They're just kind of like a kind of data, like a gigantic server that they just applied an AI to kind of spit out and put through a token on top of it. And there's probably a DeFi. I saw as like one that's still continually. I think that's also the second most worst performing sector of the year, right next to DeFi AI. But this is where the real opportunity is. I mean, we just looked at that Bitcoin chart of active wallets. It was at 40 million for 3 years, and then all of a sudden ordinals and runes came, and now it's literally doubled to 80 million, right? Or at least wallets with $1. So I think it's really just trying to find what it is, and some of the stuff is speculative, some of the stuff is not.
I mean, if you're doing crypto rails for real world assets, what you're doing is you're making it faster, smoother, easier, which by its nature is going to cause this casino-like effect. So, I mean, we have to be comfortable with that and lean into it. It's fine. That's what it's for, right? If we tokenized, I don't know, real estate in America, well, guess what? Everybody in the world can now short real estate in America, buy air, you know, it becomes frictionless, right? Which is what we actually want. But along with that comes this, dude, it's just one giant casino, but that's what humans like, dude. Period. Like humans like that. So I don't lean away from that at all. Humans love that. So
humans do love it, man. Tokenomics, all kinds of stuff. But you know, kind of going back 10 minutes to the Ponzi's, I don't think crypto likes the Ponzi's anymore, to be honest. At least from what I'm seeing, it seems like most people are trying to get away from it. Maybe like a lot of people have kind of left, I wouldn't say left the DeFi space, but the DeFi space has matured to a point to where a lot of these products don't even need tokens, to be honest. And I think the deeper you go into this Ponzi kind of speculative space, it seems like a lot of people just get turned off. Maybe it's because the average crypto user now just doesn't want to go through the process of trying to learn it or even trying to participate, where, you know, the degen kind of, if you notice, like the degen tendencies are becoming a lot more simple, right? Now it's just like, how do I buy token and make money, right? It's not like, how do I take this token and wrap it and do this and take the yield, right? And then go kind of
Well, then
go
tell me
leverage
this
long.
though, because when I was listening to the show, the guy was like, the guy about who founder of Hey Anon was like, yeah, I'm gonna make the tokenomics are gonna be like Peapod or whatever. I think it was Peapod back in the day. This is like last bull run, if you remember. This was like the farming, exactly what you're talking about. You earn yield, and if you stake it for time, you get this, and then you can reinvest the yield and stuff. And it's like everybody I know who got mega wrecked last cycle, like that was the mega wrecking. Like people, I know people who lost like half their stack in those things, right? Which is funny that he's leaning back into it. So maybe he sees that like there maybe just isn't a lot of it available, and so people are like looking for that. But you think we've moved on from that as a like all of cryptos move on for that, or you think there's still people out there who are looking for that?
There's definitely people still out there. I mean, if there's that type of like DeFi degen community, it's probably Danielle's community, because that's kind of the things that he's built is this. But if you read the tokenomics, right, it's like there's a 10 prompt limit, but then if you take the Anon token and buy this card, this one card is worth 100 prompts, but then after that, then you have to buy a new card, and then a portion of the I think it's 1% or 2% of these cards, the profits goes back into the stakers, but then you can't withdraw your card for 50 days or something like that. I forget what the amount is, or else you get slashed on the price. And right, this is kind of just like, at the end of the day, really what it is, just intellectual arbitrage, right? You're just basically able to outsmart people on what the different mechanics are of it. And I just think that type of crowd is just becoming less over time, because the average person who's coming in has to learn everything about crypto before that, right? You have to learn how on-chain, tokenomics work. You have to learn what DeFi is. You have to learn, right, what yield farming is, how all this stuff stacks, how it's all composable. It's just like such a large educational barrier to
And the thing now,
participate in that.
it's flattened too, because everybody could just use ChatGPT, throw the white paper in, and be like, "What do I do now?" Right? To a degree, it's flattened.
So that crowd's always going to be out there. Also, that kind of sector is dominated by whales at this point, right? Mercenary capital. And I just think people want a different type of game. And the new game seems to be the much more simple version of it, right? It's look at socials, buy this token, hope it 100x's. And it's just like pretty much dead simple for the most part. Obviously, that is starting to get gamed. And so there's going to be a new thing that's going to be created. And to me, I think it's going to be, AI. And that is even the much more simple one, because now you have an actual assistant who's talking to you to help you walk you through this. Before that, it's like you have to figure out this whole DeFi Ponzi by just basically being smarter than kind of the next person. So I think the tokenomics are starting to move that way too, where it's very simple. Like you look at Banker, their tokenomics is you take the Banker token and you either spend $200 to buy the yearly pass, or you can basically spend $20 a month, I think it is, or $30 a month for this monthly pass. And then the token gets you unlimited rate limits. It gets you like discount and some other thing. And that's more, I would say that is much more that has much more in common with Web 2 services than it does, right? The kind of like crypto Ponzi's, where if you have a subscription to, I don't know, Netflix, right? There's like 3 different tiers. And if you have the major one, it's like you can have unlimited accounts, you can do this and this, and then you just pay kind of monthly. And it does seem like that's kind of where a lot of the tokenomics are kind of catered towards. Chris, you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think that simple is kind of the best approach. We had this kind of thesis in crypto where if we could just get these people on chain, then they would kind of go explore themselves, like kind of exploring a new dimension or exploring a new land. That actually just like was not true. Like, you know, we Solana onboarded 80 million people on chain, maybe 20 million, maybe 50 million, but it put 50 million people on chain. None of them explored anything else. They just bought their meme coins just like they would on a centralized exchange, and then they sold them.
100%.
So like that thesis got carried away. And I think what you're saying is right, is that people don't want the complexity. Like people aren't looking for that. They're looking for the simplest kind of Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is the best explanation kind of thing. And maybe the simplest tokenomics are the best tokenomics is kind of what the thesis might actually be.
Nice.
I went to a store. I had to go to a store over the weekend to get some electrical supplies for my Tesla charger. And I walk in, and these guys, dude, these guys are talking about buying meme coins. They were literally talking about they were talking about debt relief bot, the Grok one. And so
that's pretty niche. It's only like 10 million market cap or maybe less. That's crazy.
It was actually kind of a crazy full circle moment. So I was talking with them about it, and I just asked them how they got into it. They said that one of their friends was telling them about meme coins. I asked him what apps they had downloaded. He was like Phantom, Telegram, and Dex Screener. Right? It was like that's the same kind of three. He had just gotten into the space like a few weeks ago. He's kind of learning all of it. And I was kind of explaining to him, you know, what I do and all these other things. He thought it was cool. I actually told him that I'd run an AI project and the ticker was Tensor. And he was like, oh, bro, we were literally just looking at that the other day. So I was like, dude, I have a live stream. Watch this. So Adam and I did the Agent Hustle live stream Friday morning. I ended up having to go back to them the Friday because they gave us like the wrong tool or something like that. And he was like, bro, I watched your stream. I bought some of the tokens that the AI was suggesting, and he was up. Right. So now he was like kind of interested in it. But it just like points to me of like people just want to be told what to do. Right? At the end of the day, they want simple. He didn't seem like he was interested in anything really outside of meme coins because he just needs something that's dead simple and kind of straightforward. Like a lot of these people don't even know how to profit take and stuff like that. Like I was explaining to him what stable coins were. He had no idea what a stable coin was or what the point of it was. Right. So it's just like,
I don't know, man. They're finding out how to take profits. There's a lot of sellers. They know how to sell.
They know how to sell now. They'll dump on you. Yeah, man.
They figured out how to sell. They're not holding. No one is holding.
Yeah, it was fun. So maybe they're watching this stream again, but you know, it was a cool conversation. These guys are still out there. Like that kind of sector is only going to continue to grow, but you just got to think about like the average net new entrant to the space, right? They're not going to know.
We have to hit the hardware store, and we're going to continue onboarding the meme coiners from the hardware store, just manually.
Bro, it's going to be Agent Hustle on billboards. We're going to do the old school way, man.
We've got to hit the hardware stores. We're going to get the whole staff onboarded next time.
On the ground, dude.
This is the new marketing style, dude. We're going to have to be like Pi Network, where you just go door to door, just trying to sell this hardware product. Normies love hardware products in crypto, I got to say. Whatever it is, set up your Helium miner. This fucking plug this thing into your wall and now you're mining. You know, I think that's what the Pi Network thing is. It's like you plug this into you're mining from your phone, right? And it just goes there.
Yep.
Normies love that shit. I don't know what it is about the hardware sector, but I don't know. Maybe we just need an AI hardware box that we just sell these
for
people.
men, it's visceral. There's like a visceral thing to it. I've felt it. You guys have probably felt it too. Like mining, like you just feel like you want to do that, right? It feels good. I mean, certainly when we did, Bell's coin and stuff that you're mining it on your computer, that just connected with a lot of people, a lot. Just the ability to like run it on your computer and get these coins. I mean, it's happening right now in Bell's coin. They're doing Nintendo, like a rune, right? That you're, minting or mining or whatever. And dude, it's like the network's clogged because there are, 20 guys that just have it at max mint, right? There's just something very cool about that. The dudes love that shit. Dudes love it.
Are runes live on Bells now?
Yeah.
They are? Yeah,
no, there's literally been, I want to say, somebody set Nintendo to like, it's like a trillion retarded number. I think it's like a trillion. And so people are literally, the blockchain's completely full blocks. Has been for weeks now. Yeah.
Wow, Runes went live. I didn't even hear like a single.
I
I didn't even see a single post on my timeline about that. Although I remember it.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think that something that I'm taking away from what you guys are saying too is like maybe the world's just not ready for the completely digital lifestyle, and I think that we're kind of seeing that with NFTs. I think that makes sense with like the helium miners, the hive mappers, where they have some sort of hardware device and then they're working on chain, but they're earning a reward.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of the same with like the Pokemon cards that we're seeing and the sports cards. It's like they're actually preferring the physical and digital compared to the full on digital. So like maybe that's the fusion, is just like that's the first step, is you onboard them by putting in the things that they like on chain rather than going completely digital. And then over time, we hope that they would kind of welcome with open arms the fully digital. But I think that you guys are right, is that the data is kind of pointing that they want something more tangible. They don't want the completely tangent, like they want something that they can hold or touch or see in physical terms. And I think that kind of makes sense, I guess.
Very cool.
Yeah, should be interesting, man. Well, we'll end this conversation here today. Always had a good time talking about where the future of everything's going. Desktop said he downgraded his Netflix to standard format. Yeah, people are canceling.
Bro, you're still on Netflix? I tell you, I pay for some service. I don't even know what it is, but it's like $50 every 6 months. It's literally everything.
You got everything.
Everything.
Send me that.
I will. Yeah, I will. Offline though, it's probably highly
that down. We'll put a token behind it.
Oh, bro, don't even go. Oh my god.
Yeah, you got to get the XRP Army marketing strategy going on that. I appreciate everyone for joining us today. You know, we'll be back tomorrow. Adam, we're gonna do a hustle live stream this week.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
let's go.
Later. The later one seemed to be what was hitting. People loved it. Although the Friday morning one was kind of fun.
Yep.
Agent Hustle's been hitting, dude. I don't know if you guys have seen, but I've seen 5 or 10 different people posting about their gains. He's great at picking. He's a great stock picker, right? That's what it's like 90s.
For sure.
I was gonna say, I mean, in terms of like organic feedback, I mean the feedback that Hustle's getting is incredible. Like the testimonials are great. Just like people having fun with him is just really cool to see. And so it's a small community, but everyone's having some pretty good wins, some pretty good kind of interactions with him. And this is just like the earliest days, so the product is great.
Yes. So FX says not to do with today's show, but we need to talk more about Hustle. Yeah. So we do. We generally talk about him every show. Adam and I are doing multiple live streams per week. Generally, it'll be later in the afternoon PST, and late night EST, to continue with that. It's been working pretty well. I mean, obviously, it's a smaller community right now. I just saw that Wayfinder's created 27,000 wallets so far through their stuff.
There's just no way. I don't know.
That's
There's
through.
no
I can only imagine the
bro.
cost
It's
for
like
that.
Literally just everybody's farming it. You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
I like where we're going. It's authentic. Generally, people who have been, using it, which has given us insane amount of data to understand the direction to build. Obviously, next thing to come will be tokenomics after that, and the specific tokenomics, as well as the conditional trading execution system. When will the first group be able to automate trades? Just follow me and Adam and Chris and the Agent Hustle account, as well as on Telegram. I mean, we literally post daily updates in there. Like, it's literally daily. So just continue to follow along. That's still being developed. I literally put a tweet out today about our state machines and how we were testing it last night. It's kind of interesting how it all works. So there's no other people that have been able to do this so far, at least from what I've seen. A lot of people kind of trying to build it. I think we're on the right path and we have the right system on how we're going to do it. And we'll continue to test it out. Obviously, the market is pricing us as an underdog, right? That's why it's a $1.5 million market cap, where some of these other ones are priced much higher. But we believe, we have the skills and expertise to be able to do that. So could be the trade of your lifetime, could also go to zero. Who really knows, right? Although I don't think that. I mean, it was the gains that people are making. I mean, even the Agent Hustle account that we've been live streaming with is up like 200% or so. I think maybe 150, 200%. Some of our internal testing wallets are up pretty big. Obviously using small amounts, but we're looking at the percentages right now. And just look at my tweet. That's kind of what we're working on. So continue to show up, continue to hang out, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on the show at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, if you want to follow the live stream, put Adam and mine and Agent Hustle's Twitter account on notifications, and you could be the first one to see that. Until then, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Later, guys.
Later.